What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains. I'm your boy, James Jackson, joined by my guy, Stat Matt Robinson, with the West Virginia stuff on because we know it's March Madness. He's rocking the first alma mater because he graduated from Dub C. My guy, Jake Galley, returning, took an off week last week. And we got a good guest on. We know it's the start of March Madness this week, but we're gonna stick to some NBA talk. We've got Ahmad Smith, former NBA professional, AK is NBA on Twitter. Ahmad, how you doing? Thanks for joining the pod, my man.
Doing well. Ready to talk.
So yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, like I said, it's the first start of March Madness today. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But the NBA is still rocking and rolling. So we got to update on that. And Ahmad, we're gonna take you through the full scope. And the first thing I think we got to talk about, y'all, is these Charlotte Hornets, led by Puma fan LaMelo Ball. But if you look at the standings right now, what we see, fifth in the East, like this is a team who drafted third in the NBA, this season, picking up LaMelo Ball, and now sit primed and ready for a playoff spot. And I guess we just got to ask, and I'm going to ask you first, Ahmad, being a former NBA professional, like how did we get to this point? How are the Hornets right now just in the midst of this Eastern Conference playoff run?
Well, the coach made the right decision. He started LaMelo Ball.
Hmm.
He should have did that from the beginning of the year. So if you look at it, they got a lot of guys that's playing well. Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, which was an excellent pickup, and a lot of people don't really talk about. People are talking about, the Charlotte Hornets overpaid for him, but to be honest, he's been their best all-around player this year. So they're playing really well. But I would caution that they're fifth in the East right now, but the East has been very, very up and down and kind of
Mm-hmm.
bad. So even though they're the fifth seed right now, I don't think they're like a legit like lock for the playoffs. Anything can happen in this next, I want to say 3-4 weeks.
For sure. And they're, I think, a surprisingly well balanced team. When you look at, they start or they can go to a three guard lineup with Rozier, Graham, and Ball. They also have PJ Washington, who's a nice young player who can kind of step up when they need him to, 20 and 10 type player on his up nights. And then Gordon Hayward has been all around another player, much like PJ Washington, in the sense that when they need him to turn it on, he can score 30 points if he needs to. Last night, he had I think 9 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, something like that. So he's another very well-utilized player there. James Borrego has them playing well. But as Ahmad said, it's the Charlotte Hornets. We have to pump the brakes a little bit, and we'll see come playoff time if they're still around the 5 seed or if they drop down a little bit.
I mean, I got to give them credit where credit is due. We want to say pump the brakes on a playoff team, but I think there's a reason, maybe fifth or sixth is a product of the rest of the East being a little lackluster, but I think there's also a reason that they're in there. And they've been playing really well down the stretch. Since the start of February, they're 8-2 in games decided by less than 10 points. And you talk about a team who's making a playoff run, you got to be able to win tight games and pull those games out late down the stretch. And the Hornets are playing well enough to do that. And you hit it right on the head, Ahmad. Since they started LaMelo Ball, they've looked like a playoff team to me. The eye tests don't lie, right? They're playing exciting brand of basketball. They look like a playoff team to me.
Yeah, right now. But if you in 3 to 4 weeks, I expect the seeding to look a lot different. I expect the Boston Celtics to be higher up. I expect the Toronto Raptors to be higher up. So it's just those are two teams right there that most people would consider like legit playoff teams before the season started, and they're kind of like, I think the Boston Celtics are in the HC right now, and the Charlotte Raptors are in I think the 9th or 10th seed right now. I don't expect that to be the same going forward, so that's why I'm kind of a little skeptical about the Charlotte Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are the 5th seed or 6th seed right now as well.
Something like that.
So
Yeah.
it's just kind of
Everything's so jumbled.
yeah.
Between the Hawks and the Hornets, so that's 4 teams. They're all either 20 and 20, 21 and 21, or 21 and 20. So, and I have to agree with you, Ahmad. I think they will fall off towards the end of the season, and I think that still might get them a playoff spot in this East. James, you mentioned the clutch shots. I look at that kind of from a pessimistic point of view. You're not going to get Rozier shooting 58% from the field down the stretch from 56% from 3. That seems like very ready for a regression to the mean. And Gordon Hayward's also shooting over 50% in the clutch. I think that's going to fall back, and they'll go back to kind of playing like their normal selves in the clutch rather than becoming Michael Jordan in the last 3 minutes. Although they do have the Jordan Magic as their owner.
I mean, and hey, hello, we're in March, y'all. if we were in December, January with these numbers, I'd agree with y'all. Hey, maybe they're just off to a hot start. Maybe they're just hitting a groove. They'll come back down. Like I've said for a lot of teams, we're past the All-Star break. The playoffs are around the corner. Like we're starting to solidify playoff seedings now. If they're playing this well, this far into the season, 65 to 70% through the season, I mean, to me, it's not a coincidence anymore. To me, it's not a facade. Like this is how the Charlotte Hornets are playing. They're playing, and they're getting better and better as the weeks go on. Like from February to now, they're 8-2. Like they're getting better as the season goes along. That's why I think they're a playoff team. Like this isn't a fluke anymore. We're in March.
I mean, it might not be a fluke, but like I just still go back to the surprising aspect of this is a team that I mean, Hayward, LaMelo Ball, those being two of their bigger pieces, were added in this COVID offseason where, teams don't have the same time to gel. They don't have the same setup heading into the season. But it's clear that they do work incredibly well as a team. Third in the league in assists, 7th in 3 points made, and 7th in 3-point percentage. They're moving the ball around. They're finding the open man. Ultimately, when you're a team like Charlotte, you don't have the top 10, top 15 player. That's how you're going to have to make your living, moving the ball around, getting open shots, and they've got guys who can knock them down.
So you're going to tell me that, they're one of the best teams in the league. They have the stats to prove it, but you don't expect them to make the playoffs. And do you honestly see teams like the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, even the Raptors, who don't have a go-to guy anymore, start playing better to knock the Hornets out? Like they're playing better ball than all those teams.
The Raptors are former champions. So they're going to get it together. And then I would say the Boston Celtics. Come on now, the Boston Celtics are one of the top, talent-wise, top teams in the Eastern Conference.
I'll give you the Celtics.
I expect them to get it together as well. So if you just look at that, you say Boston, fifth seed, Raptors. In my opinion, if they start playing better, 6th seed, and then you look at the Hornets and the Hawks, that play-in tournament. That's where I kind of expect them to be in, and then we'll see if they're going to make the playoffs. That's my opinion going down the stretch.
I'm nailing them in.
Well, and I never said they weren't going to make the playoffs. At this point,
you was negative about it though. You were headed down that road. I saw you. You was headed down that road.
I mean, I have my doubts about how successful they're going to be because, as I mentioned, they don't have that top 15 guy in the playoffs. Terry Rozier is their guy, as you said, down the stretch. As a Sixers fan, I've seen what Terry Rozier can do. Okay, right. He has that top end potential, but when he is the guy he's expected and he's scouted as, okay, this is the guy they're going to down the stretch, I don't know. I can't put my eggs in that basket yet.
And I'm gonna be honest. Fans are coming back into the arenas sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. I'm gonna be honest. It's a lot of guys right now that are playing out of their mind, playing crazy, Terry Rozier included. That I don't believe, me personally, when fans in that pressure, especially in playoff moments and situation, I don't believe they're going to be playing the same when the fans come back into it.
You sound like Jason Tatum now. Jason Tatum said that in the offseason about players in the bubble.
That's real. I really don't. I feel like Terry Rozier. Who are some other players that are just playing out of their mind right now? I can't even think of. But
like Julius Randle is like Julius Randle.
Julius Randle, Terry Rozier. It's a lot of these guys. I'm kind of like, they're good. They're legit starters in this league. But put it like this: James Harden is averaging 25 points per game right now, and that's 19 in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy to think about.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with the COVID and the bubble situation, not the bubble situation, but fans not being in arenas. A lot of it has to do with some of the way guys are playing, but it's just kind of like I don't know, man. I don't.
He's
a lot of guys I don't believe. I don't know.
Shaky about it, shaky baby. I hear you.